Okay.
We're ready? Okay, good. All right, so could you just tell us a bit about your takeaways today about omnichannel marketing, digital, as well as remaining relevant to your consumer?
I think based on the discussion and kind of talking to you ladies also was, for me it is, the takeaway was that as marketers we've been focusing on creating a conversation between brands and the consumer. And I think that's no longer relevant. That's kind of almost in the past. The conversation has to go much beyond just the brand and the consumer, but more what the consumer is seeking from a perspective of authenticity, perspective of credibility. So the source of information, the conversations have to take place outside the brand, and then the consumer has to be almost invited to participate in those conversations. As far as the brands are concerned, it is more about putting the information out there, but that's about it. In terms of whether it's credible or not, has to come from a completely different conversation, which is happening and should not be really linked to the brand itself. So that's one piece that was a key takeaway for me. The other takeaway for me was really about how we go about using our communication dollars, our marketing dollars. As we talked about, it's shrinking and we have a challenge, and the relevance of television. Typically what we've been doing is we've been focusing television as the primary channel or platform for developing communication, and then taking that communication and putting it into different platforms, whether it's digital or in-store or what have you. But I think the real interesting twist that I'm going to incorporate going forward based on our discussion today is make digital the starting point and use that communication transfer into other platforms, whether it's television or in-store and so on and so forth. So for me, that shift is going to be very interesting for two things. One, from a relevance perspective, and the other is with my shrinking marketing dollars, it allows me to actually reduce my production cost, because producing, say, an ad for online is much cheaper than for television.
Right.
But why not use that online ad on television? I think we've just been kind of very focused on what we were doing things earlier versus where we need to go from where we are today.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the second thing. The third thing was very interesting was for me the conversation around brands and the usefulness of the brands for the consumer. So for example, if I'm looking at French fries or frozen potato products, by just selling or talking about those products is irrelevant, but it's really relevant if you are looking for a recipe and I can present my product in light of the recipe and as a solution for a meal is far more powerful for the consumer than just talking about my product in itself. So I think for me those are the three key powerful takeaways from today's conversation.
We also discussed how in television a lot of the advertising has been, creating an emotional connection with your consumer. Do you think you're still going to be able to do that digitally with your brand?
I think we'll have to think it very differently. I think we'll have to kind of really stretch our imagination and stretch our the way we kind of look at digital. And a lot will boil down to our agency partners and the talent that they have within their organization, within the digital scape, to help create those emotional stories. But at the end of the day, it is about storytelling.
Mm-hmm.
And if you tell the story right, whether it's digital or television, it still will create a powerful emotional connection. So we just have to become better at storytelling in the digital landscape, which is going to be a new skill and a new talent requirement also going forward.
Definitely. Thank you very much, Vikram.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.